Evil bride's secret nearly ruins groom's life. So, I don't know what category this fits into. Maybe wedding drama, maybe relationship horror story, but it's definitely one of the worst things I've ever seen someone do to another human being. A few years ago, I was the maid of honor in what was supposed to be a beautiful summer wedding. My best friend Erin was engaged to a woman named Melissa. They had been dating for just under 2 years when she told him she was pregnant, and it changed everything. Now, Erin always wanted kids. It was one of those things he made clear early in every relationship. His dad had passed away when he was a young kid, and he always dreamed of being the kind of hands-on, loving father he never got to have. Melissa knew this. Everyone knew this. So when she told him she was pregnant, he was over the moon. Like buying baby books, researching prenatal vitamins, and clearing out his office for a nursery. Within weeks, he proposed. The ring wasn't even paid off yet when she announced that they needed to rush the wedding. "We don't want to be unmarried when the baby comes," she told him. And he agreed. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in mid-June. People had flown in from out of state. His parents had booked the rehearsal dinner, helped with deposits, and even started buying baby things: clothes, a crib, diapers. Erin was totally devoted. The only weird part? Melissa never wanted anyone to come to her doctor appointments. She had excuses. The office was too small, COVID protocols, changing clinics, early appointments. She said the baby was healthy, and she just wanted to keep it private. Erin didn't push. He trusted her. But a few weeks before the wedding, I started getting a weird feeling. Melissa kept avoiding any conversation about baby showers or registries. She said she didn't want to do one yet because she was worried about jinxing it, which, okay, fair. But then she'd turn around and talk about her baby bump in front of people, even though there wasn't really anything visible. Still, pregnancies show differently for everyone. I told myself I was just being paranoid. Then came the ultrasound. About 5 days before the wedding, Erin sent me a picture Melissa had texted him, a sonogram. He was emotional, saying, "It's starting to feel real." But I noticed something immediately. The name in the corner of the image wasn't hers, and the date was off. I didn't say anything at first, but apparently Erin noticed too. That night, he reverse image searched the photo. It was the first result on a pregnancy blog from 2018. And that's when everything started to unravel. Erin didn't say anything to Melissa right away. He wanted to believe it was a mistake. But when he casually asked her about the ultrasound, she froze. He said she got defensive almost instantly, claiming the nurse had given her a backup copy from a past appointment and must have printed the wrong one. Erin, being Erin, agreed and let it go. But I could tell something inside him had shifted. The next morning, he showed me the search results. Same image, same angle, same smudge on the corner. He asked if I thought he was crazy. I said no. I said I thought something was off too, and I had for a while. That was all he needed to hear. The confrontation happened 2 days before the wedding. Guests were already in town. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled, and his parents were hosting family at their house. Erin came home early from work and calmly asked Melissa if she would take a pregnancy test, with him there. She laughed it off at first, called it offensive, said he clearly didn't trust her. When he pushed, she snapped. She said he had no idea how pregnancy works, that stress could harm the baby, and that he was making her feel unsafe. Then she went quiet for a long time. And finally, with zero emotion, she said she had lost the baby that morning. Just like that. She said that she had been terrified to tell him because she didn't want to upset him so close to the wedding and knew the news would crush him. She told him that she was trying to protect him. Erin said it felt like someone had punched him in the chest. He didn't even know how to react. No tears, no emotion, just, he's gone. She had never even told Erin that they were expecting a boy. She had been saying that their gender appointment was still a few weeks away. They had decided on the name Connor, if the baby was a boy. Erin told me that she just stood there repeating, "Connor's gone, Connor's gone." He asked if she was okay. She said yes, she was just cramping a little. When he told me later, he said the weirdest part was how calm she was. Not devastated, not even shaken, just irritated that he kept asking questions. When he said they should go to the hospital, she flat out refused. She said there was no point, that it had already happened and she just needed to rest. But Aaron wasn't having it. He told her it was dangerous to stay home, especially if she was that far along. They argued for hours. With all the research Aaron had done, he was sure she needed medical attention being so far in her pregnancy. Finally, he said he was calling 911 if she didn't agree to go in. She agreed, but insisted he wait outside in the waiting room when they arrived at the hospital. He said no. He told her, "I need to be there with you. This is hard for me too. I thought we were going to be parents. We should be going through this together." She had no choice but to say yes. That's when she cracked. They were sitting in the exam room when the nurse stepped out to give them a moment. He said Melissa broke down sobbing. Not the quiet kind, but ugly, loud, shaking sobs. And then she said the words that made him want to throw up. "It wasn't real. I'm sorry." She admitted the whole thing. There was no baby. There never had been. She said she had done it because she felt like they had been drifting apart and thought taking big steps, like marriage, would bring them closer. She said she panicked and thought once they were married, it wouldn't matter. She didn't expect him to care this much, which is probably one of the dumbest excuses I've ever heard since everyone knew how committed Aaron was to being a dad. How could she have possibly thought that going through a pregnancy and losing a baby wouldn't bother him that much? He got up, walked straight out of the hospital, and never went back. The wedding was officially canceled the next morning. Aaron's parents were the ones who made the calls. They told guests it was a family emergency, and most people assumed something had happened with the baby. Melissa didn't correct anyone. She stayed completely silent for a while. Aaron moved back in with his mom and dad for a few weeks. He didn't speak to Melissa again. Not once. Not even to ask for the ring back. His family packed up the nursery, boxed up the baby clothes his mother had lovingly folded just a few weeks before, and quietly returned what they could. The rest they donated. They couldn't get most of the money they had put into the wedding back, so it was a loss of thousands of dollars. I've never seen Aaron like that, completely gutted. He said it wasn't just the betrayal, it was grieving a child that never even existed. And the worst part was, he had been a father in his heart. He had pictured Connor, and it was all just gone. Melissa, on the other hand, didn't seem to feel shame, at least not publicly. 2 weeks after the canceled wedding, she posted a black and white photo of herself holding her stomach with the caption, "Sometimes the universe has other plans. R.I.P. sweet boy." Comments poured in from people saying how sorry they were, how strong she was. Aaron and I both sat there in silence reading it. He said it was the final gut punch. But it didn't last. Word eventually got out. Someone, maybe a guest, maybe someone on her side of the family, heard what really happened and let it slip. Then the rumors started. Then the screenshots. I don't know who leaked the image search results, but they made it around fast. And once people figured out she had faked the pregnancy, sympathy turned to outrage. Her bridesmaids cut contact. Her own sister, who had been one of her biggest supporters, made a cryptic Facebook post about narcissists who use grief as currency. Melissa deleted her accounts not long after. And the final twist? A few months later, she tried to reach out to Aaron. Not to apologize, but to see if he'd give her another chance. He didn't respond. Today, Aaron's doing better. He's in therapy. He's slowly rebuilding. He says he still wants to be a dad one day. As for Melissa, I don't know where she is. I don't care. I just hope she never gets another chance to lie her way into someone else's future again. Secretly used the bachelorette money for herself and lied to everyone. About 6 months ago, the bride planned her destination bachelorette trip and charged each of the girls, 11 of us, $650 for the Airbnb. I was salty about the cost, but she's my sister-in-law, so I sucked it up and paid. I was also suspicious about how insanely high the price was, so I cross-checked the Airbnb listing. And unfortunately, it checked out. Then, one day, I was chatting about wedding stuff with my brother, who's marrying this bride, and he said something like, "Man, thank goodness her dad paid for that Airbnb. That would have been crazy expensive for you girls." I almost choked. I said, "Wait, are you sure about that?" Because all 11 of us paid $650 for the house. I told him maybe he should run that by her. His face turned purple. So, yeah, safe to say he had no idea. I get that weddings are expensive, but don't have one if it means stealing from your bridesmaids. I'm assuming I'm the only one who knows what's going on here, and I honestly don't know if I should spill to the group or just let it go. There's a chance her dad stepped in after we paid, and she just chose not to refund us. I don't know the exact situation yet, and I want to avoid embarrassing my brother. Update number 1. Thanks for all the advice and support. I agree with most of you who say I'm morally obligated to spill the beans because $650 is not child's play. Here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm talking to my brother. I want to give him a chance to clear things up with his fiancée before I make a scene. I want to understand what's really going on. Like, did her dad pay for the Airbnb and she put it toward wedding stuff instead? That answer will determine how and when I tell the rest of the bridesmaids. I'm giving my brother 1 or 2 days because this trip is literally next week. Stay tuned. Update number 2. So I regrouped with my brother. And then my mom stepped in, bypassed him completely, and got info straight from the bride's dad. Here's the tea. Her dad didn't offer to pay for the Airbnb until a few months after we had all paid. He only offered after finding out the cost, because apparently he was pissed she chose a $2,300 per night house and made us pay. He even threatened to cancel funding for the wedding if she added more expenses onto the bridal party. He had already said no to her original idea of doing the bachelorette in the Maldives. According to my mom, the bride's dad was embarrassed when he heard about the Airbnb price and wanted to save face with our side of the family. So, he gave her $7,000 to cover the house and told her to refund us. Spoiler alert, she didn't. And it gets better. My mom went full FBI. Not only did the bride keep the $7,000, but she didn't even use it on other wedding expenses. She doesn't have it. So now, the obvious question, where the hell did the money go? Right now, there's basically a full-blown investigation going down between our two families. My mom asked me not to alert the bridesmaids just yet, until we get more info and try to resolve things. But we will tell them, one way or another. Update number 3. The plot thickens. While all this is unfolding, the maid of honor, who has no idea what's going on, is still carrying out her duties. She sends a 4-paragraph text outlining a dress code for each night of the bachelorette trip, per the bride's orders. Let me read you the themes. Thursday, wild animal print. Friday, faux fur. Saturday, sparkle dress. Sunday, Barbie brunch. Seriously? She wants us to go out and buy 4 themed outfits a week before the trip? Thankfully, the bridesmaids are starting to wake up. Several of them replied saying there's no way they're pulling that off in time. Some flat out said it's not happening. But all that is just a side story. My mom is now heavily involved. She's paid a decent chunk toward this wedding and does not like that the bride is throwing around thousands from her dad while lying to the bridal party. So she set up a meeting with the bride and told her, point blank, either she explains everything or she will tell the bridesmaids. At this point, I'm just eating popcorn, waiting to see what happens. Update number 4. A swan. An ice swan. She used the $7,000 to book a swan-shaped ice sculpture for the reception and didn't tell anyone. Her dad explicitly told her not to add any more extras to the wedding after he sent her the Airbnb money. But she thought she was being sneaky and kept the cash. She didn't even tell my brother. He only found out when he was out with her dad, and it came up in conversation. So now the mystery's solved, thanks to our mini FBI team. But I'm still asking, where's my $650? I have bills. I have kids to feed. I did not spend that money on frozen bird decor. My mom, being the saint she is giving the bride 24 hours to confess to the bridesmaids and figure out how to pay us back. It's taking everything in me not to send a message to the group chat right now, but my mom is trying to give her a last chance to do the right thing. Let me know if I should post the final update. Final update number 5. Let's start with the bride's explanation. She sat down with me, my mom, my brother, her fiancé, and her dad. She broke down crying and said wedding planning had gone to her head and that she felt crushed by the pressure to have the perfect day, and that apparently the wedding couldn't go on without an ice swan. Yeah, I didn't buy her story either. I think she's a delusional, controlling bridezilla who's using this wedding to compete with Instagram influencers. Oh, and surprise! Her job is literally being an influencer, if I didn't mention that already. Now, the money. Are we getting it back? Gut-wrenching answer. Probably not. Her dad said he already paid for the Airbnb once and won't do it again. He also said his daughter is 31 and needs to figure it out herself. She claimed the $7,000 is gone, and she doesn't know how she'd even pay us back. My brother refused to cover it. And honestly, while I love that people are holding her accountable, I'd really just like my money back. Legally, we can't do anything. We willingly paid the amount she asked, and proving fraud or theft would be a nightmare. So, what about the bridesmaids? After some pressure, the bride finally messaged the group chat. And let me tell you, it was gross. She said, "Hey ladies, Dad recently offered to pay for our accommodations, but since the wedding is so expensive, I decided to put that donation toward a wedding expense. Hope you understand." I responded immediately, making sure everyone knew that the wedding expense was an ice swan. Most of them were pissed. They said they could have used that $650 for something more important, but since we were too close to the trip to cancel, no one backed out. One of the girls started a side chat without the bride, and we all decided, we're going on this trip. But it is not a bachelorette party anymore. We're bringing our partners, doing our own thing, and treating it like a personal vacation. We also backed out of hosting and paying for the bridal shower. We'll attend as guests, but no gifts. We told the bride to cancel the ice swan and give us our money back. But after some digging, it turns out ice swans don't even cost that much. So where did the rest of the money go? I saved this for last. Final update number 6. There is no ice swan. There never was an ice swan. It was all a lie. Turns out, the beachfront mansion wasn't chosen to host 11 girls. It was chosen because it's 5 minutes away from a high-end plastic surgeon. Yup. The bride had scheduled breast augmentation surgery as part of the bachelorette itinerary. All of us bridesmaids showed up with our significant others, ready to take our own vacations. The bride, still thinking this was her party, showed up last, alone, in a pre-booked limo. She was shocked no one else met her at the airport. Then she was furious when she realized we weren't following her schedule. After about 48 hours of not seeing her, she suddenly rolled up the driveway in a wheelchair being pushed by 2 nurses. Everyone panicked, thinking she had a medical emergency. We were all banging on the door asking if she was okay. Eventually, the nurses left and wouldn't say what was wrong. So I called her mom. Her mom tells me she's fine. There was no emergency. She just got her boobs done. She used the $7,000 to pay for the surgery, hire recovery nurses, and book private chefs for afterward. This whole trip was a cover for her post-op recovery. The bachelorette party was just a smokescreen. So, will we pursue legal action? Doubt it. Will my brother still marry her? I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that this was one of the most unhinged things I've ever witnessed. Secretly, the bride kicked me out of the wedding for trying to steal her thunder. This happened years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Sorry, it's really long. Before freshman year of college, I decided to move in with 2 of my best friends, Nikki and Dan, who became engaged that summer. I was so excited for them because I'd been friends with them since middle school, and we all worked together at the same store. So Nikki and Dan decided in early November to move their wedding up a year because they didn't want to wait, and they essentially had everything planned. When they told me, I mentioned how I was planning on moving out once they got married so they could have their privacy, which was the original deal when we moved in together. This is when things started to splinter. The bridesmaid dress moment. On the day we went to pick out the wedding dress and bridesmaids' dresses, Nikki informed me that her other friend was going to be the maid of honor. I'd still be in the wedding party and get to walk down the aisle with Dan's brother, who she said was way cuter than the best man anyway, so I was lucky. I was hurt at the time, but understood. It was her wedding, her choice. I ended up paying the deposit on all the dresses that day because the loan they had taken out wouldn't be deposited for a few weeks, and I had just come into some inheritance money. At some point later, I asked her for the contact information of the other bridesmaids. They were all friends from her hometown, and I didn't know them at all. She asked me why I needed it, and I told her that bridesmaids sometimes help plan the bridal shower and the bachelorette party, and I wanted to help out. She got upset and refused. I dropped the subject because I had to get to class. One night soon after, I was at a party at a friend's house when Nikki called me. She was mad about wedding stuff. I don't remember the whole conversation, but she accused me of trying to steal her thunder by attempting to plan events without her, meaning the bridal shower and bachelorette party. I hadn't even done anything. I didn't have anyone's numbers, and even if I had, I would have made sure she was involved. She kept yelling and said I was constantly dangling the money card just because I paid for the dresses. I had only brought it up once, to ask when I'd be paid back. I told her, "It's your wedding and your special day. And to prove I'm not trying to steal your thunder, I don't even have to be in the wedding party if you don't want me to be." So she agreed, and I was out. Tensions were high. I tried to be cordial with both of them, mostly Dan, since he was kind of on the outside of the conflict. I went to visit my family in Minnesota over Thanksgiving break. While we were at the Mall of America, Nikki called me and told me I owed $80 for my dress. When I told her I had already canceled mine, she snapped and said that was my problem. So when I got back, I went to the bridal shop and canceled my dress. I remember the girl asking very clearly, "Just this one dress?" And I said yes, just the one. A few days later, I get a call from Dan saying he and Nikki need to talk to me right away. I drive home, and they're sitting there across from me, interrogation style. I have no idea what's going on. They tell me their entire dress order, wedding dress, and all bridesmaids' dresses, had been canceled, and no one at the bridal shop had contacted them. Apparently, everything was put back on the racks. I told them exactly what happened and explained that I only canceled my dress. I have no clue how the rest got canceled, or if it was even real. But it wasn't me. At that point, I started sleeping at my parents' house. They lived about 20 minutes from campus, and I just didn't want to deal with Nikki or Dan anymore. I later found out they were spreading rumors about me, saying I came home blackout drunk and they had to carry me up the stairs and leave me in the bathroom. I drank occasionally, but I had never been blackout drunk. They also claimed I had random guys over all the time. I was a virgin. None of it was true. As the wedding approached, a mutual friend suggested I offer an olive branch. She said, "You guys may be fighting now, but this is one of those lifetime memories. You might make up later." So, the day before the wedding, I messaged Nikki and asked if I was still welcome. She said yes. The next day was chaotic for me, and I ended up getting to the church about 10 minutes before the ceremony was supposed to start. When I opened the door, all the groomsmen, guys I had gone to high school with and was friends with, stopped me. They told me I wasn't welcome and asked me to leave. Apparently, Dan and Nikki thought I was going to try something to ruin their wedding. Then why invite me? Honestly, I suffer from way too much guilt and anxiety to pull something like that. I wish I was that petty. I'm only petty enough to post this story on Reddit. My petty patience was rewarded, though. After I officially moved out, they contacted me multiple times asking for help with rent. The apartment complex had found out about the secret pets they were hiding, and the fees were piling up. More importantly, they got divorced 6 months into their marriage. So maybe I should have stopped the wedding after all. I didn't add this earlier because it wasn't directly about the wedding. But when I finally found a new apartment and came to get my stuff, I discovered they had moved all of my belongings into the spare room where they kept the pets. They let the animals pee all over everything. Suffice to say, I left all the ruined items behind, and no, I never paid them a dime in additional rent, even though my name was still on the lease and I was legally obligated to. They gave up pretty fast. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more stories.